Hello and welcome back to Cleaved. We'll be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after basically falling face first into Caldor. Um, you had a little discussion with him while you were soaking, talking about the things going on, talking about if Chaim spoke to Caldor about what's going on, and apparently Chaim likes him. You will be having to have a little impromptu physical with Holm, which is the younger. Well, the you don't get to see him yet, but he is the wolf who is the brother of the sister Astrid, um, the one who was basically trying to get rid of you through extreme means. And I believe Holm was the one that was just trying to stick you up into a high tower and like leave you there. He wasn't trying to get rid of you. He just didn't want you out and about. But apparently now that things have settled, he is very interested in you. So, ooh, you're gonna get a physical. And what else? What else? What else? There is something weird going on with Brian, which will be, I suppose, further explored later. But yeah, something rattling around his brain. Um, you were able to see the warehouse a little bit more, see some of the inventions, see how the light thingies work, and you were introduced uh, to what powers these inventions, and I believe it's pronounced Yosh. But again, I don't know. I do not speak uh, the Nordic languages. I only speak English and Spanish, a little bit of French. Anyways, but yeah, so yeah, that thing happened. So anyway, so let's just continue. As the light passes through the window, I begin to stir. The morning sun's a clear indication that it's time to get up. Swinging my legs over the bed, I stand up and make my way over to the dresser. Sat on top of it was a bundle of clothing, tied up in a wicker basket, a note attached to the end of it tied delicately. Here's the rest of your clothing, darling. Your favorite seamstress. Perfect. Thanks, Selma. Undoing the lace, I inspect the individual items that were part of the bundle. It mostly consists of undershirts, a few pairs of trousers, and some shorts. I assumed that she had designed these for me so that it would be better to relax within the castle. I don't need that getup just to lounge about, after all. I pick out an outfit for the day and fold it out on my bed, just so that I can change after my shower. I then grab a towel and approach the bathroom. One new notification for Brian. Stopping in my tracks, my eyes are thrown over the banister and down at the screen. The device flickers with a soft blue color as it makes a short chime. Oh, that's new. Um, hello? What's my notification? A part of me was beginning to think that I had done something wrong, as it didn't seem to respond to my command, but before I knew it, it played back another chime. King Caldor has successfully cleared Hirscher Holmes' morning schedule, and he is available for your scheduled medical assessment. Someone will be by shortly to escort you to the facility. Please prepare yourself swiftly and avoid consumption of any food and beverages other than water, as to not affect the results of the examination. So he has to fast. The screen flickers off. Not wanting to hold up my escort, I head into the bathroom and get my shower done as quickly as I can. Stepping out with a fresh feeling, I return to my room and slide on one of the undershirts. I decide that it'd be best to stick with a pair of shorts, opting for comfort for the day ahead. I open the door and I'm met with a woven guard. He's not too dissimilar to Gear, but not as tall and a bit more of a vibrant brown for his fur. The outfit itself was what tied it to the sense of familiarity. Good morning. The wolf gives me a nod before mouthing a quick greeting, turning to his side so that I may step out of the room. Ah, right. Thanks. A flash of his burgundy colored attire hits my eyes as I turn back to lock the door. The wolf continues to wait patiently, but once he sees that I am ready, he begins to walk off. He beckons me with a hand sign as we slowly progress onwards. Honestly, the silence the wolf encouraged was an absolute bliss to me at the time, giving me some time to get my thoughts together, mainly being about last night. It's probably why he didn't come to see me this morning. We both know that it was an accident, but it was quite personal experience for the both of us. Although I do find it embarrassing how much of a klutz I made myself to be. I wonder how he truly felt about it. We're here. Perfect. Thank you for the escort. Herr Holm is inside waiting for you. Just go inside when you're ready, but try not to keep him waiting too long. Of course. He turns to walk away, leaving me alone. I take a deep breath, pumping my arms up and down eagerly and giving the door a courteous knock before my grip encompasses the handle and I push it open. Herr Holm? Hi, I'm. What? Oh my god! It seems my sudden arrival had caused the wolf quite a start. Looking further into the room, I could see that there was a bookshelf at the back of the wall, adorned with multiple books varying in shape, color, and size. I press in, quickly making my way over to the wolf and picking him up from the floor. I sling his arm over my shoulder so that I can bring him to the nearby chair. Are you okay? Um, yeah, I'm okay. My pride is more sore than anything. I, um, I feel you on that. Despite my attempt, I can't keep the laughter in, and I let out a slight chuckle at the poor Holmes' expense. He blushes at a faint red before letting out a courteous laugh, joining me in my entertainment. Hmm, I suppose that if it had to happen in front of anyone, there is some comfort that it was you of all people. If it was someone from the council, I don't think that I could have ever lived that down, much less if it were my sister. The wolf would roll his eyes at the mention of her, but quickly shrugged it off and shifted his focus back to me. Back to the important part of today. Human. Hello. Hello to you too, Hershir Holm. It's a pleasure to properly meet you finally. And same to you. Something seems a little off with him. Compared to how I last encountered him at the trial, he seems more laid back and easygoing. Dare I say, happier? So, I didn't get much of a chance to talk to you specifically at the trial, but I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to this meeting since. I think that I might have an idea how. Caldor had made some comments about how interested you were in me. I'm certain that he did. But it wasn't just your species that piqued my interest. When we have those grandiose trials, it's always the same, a petty criminal or a traitor. Heck, we even get our grandmothers that demand our undivided attention because they're not happy with individual council members' choices. But it's insanely rare for us to have a scholar pass through our doors, let alone one that has knowledge of the field that we provide services for. From everything that I've seen so far, you seem to be more catered towards machinery than anything that would fall in the realm of Haim's interest. In fact, I wanted to ask you if you carried any knowledge of the studies in my field. Hmm, biology, right? I'm certainly no novice, but as you said, I'm no specialist. Despite that, I've already shown Haim I'm a quick study. As it stands, I might just take you up on that offer. Having another intellectual resident at the castle would be a lifesaver. And besides, if you have such a good understanding of the other sciences, biology should come easy enough. Sounds good to me. Wait, do you know those words? Uh, biology? I mean, I am a Lacnir after all. Why wouldn't I? Oh, no. It's just that I had to explain to Caldor what those words were. I didn't think that they were all that common. Ah, I see. No, not quite. To an educational fellow, those words are common. There are many shared between a lot of cultures. Caldor wouldn't know them because, well, he's rather dim. That was rather casual of him to say. It surprises me to the point that I don't doubt Holm can read my reaction like a book. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't get me wrong. I love the king like a brother, but I'm not exactly lying by saying that in all honesty. Well, in all fairness, he was pretty damn earnest about the individual strengths that his council possessed. He mentioned that he held you guys in close accord to help run the areas where he might lack. That's our king for you. He really does seem like a stand-up guy, huh? He has his faults, but overall, I wouldn't ask to work alongside someone better. Now, before we run off on a tangent, why don't we go ahead and get this exam started? Alright, where do we begin? Right here. Holm turns his chair, searching through a few drawers and putting various items out on the table behind him. Amongst them sat a needle, microscope, a flashlight, and a circular device that I wasn't familiar with. The wolf then walks over to a long pole. He presses a button, and a set of blue screens appear in front of him, similar to what have been set up in my room. While standing, he reaches for a shelf closer to his desk and pulls out a worn journal. He cracks the spine of the journal and turns, heading towards a blank page. Setting it down, his free paw fiddles with the empty space, the wolf not looking but raising his eyebrows as he finally finds a pen. One final movement puts him back to the starting position. He pulls a microscope towards him, lowering his eyes to the scope as he calibrates it. Satisfied, he then grabs the needle and the circular device. Okay, so... He presses the button on the center of the circle and it expands a slight bit. A light illuminates out of it as it lines itself up next to a chiseled stone slab. Provided you're comfortable, would you remove your, outer garments? Yeah, sure. It seemed like I had made the right call, opting for less layer-heavy attire. While I'm in the process of removing my shirt, I hear him pick up the journal. So, is this so that you can get some kind of accurate results? Uh-huh. The more accurate results, the better after all. Now, the most annoying test that I want to conduct. He then shows me the needle. I want to conduct a blood test. I want to see if I can confirm a couple of theories that have been floating around in my mind. Is it alright if I take one? Sure, by all means. He grabs me by the hand, pulling my left arm out and twisting it so that the underside was facing skyward. He slowly followed it by prodding and tensing my arm to find the sweet spot. Got some scars on this arm, friend. Been in many scrapes in your time? Not too many that I recall. Might be a bit banged up from arriving here, though. I see. Holm then proceeds to find an ideal spot, lowering the needle onto position. You're gonna feel a little prick, but I'll try to be as gentle as possible. I inhale deeply, allowing him to proceed. Somehow, even now, something as commonplace as a needle makes me woozy for a moment. And before I knew it, Holm's already finished. He then turns around, extracting a vial from a nearby cupboard. The blood is then transferred over to it, leaving me intrigued as to what he is concocting. Holm then drops a strip into the vial before finally sealing it and storing it into a cylindrical container. What is... His interest and precision in what he's doing is shutting down my knowledge-seeking nature, just contented with watching and studying from the wolf as he moves over to a panel connected to the cylinder. It sparks for a second, bringing the whole machine to life. Pistons begin pumping and the cylinder starts spinning. Perfect. Now, that'll just need a minute. I can tell you have questions. Essentially, this machine is able to test blood. Should tell me if there's any illnesses that we need to worry about. It's some impressive technology. That it is. We may not be the most advanced in the medical field, but we're certainly not slouches. There is a smile on his face as he stows the journal next to the machine. Now, while we're waiting for that to finish, another thing that I've been asked to do is to collect your height and weight. He writes something down before pointing out what looks to be an old scale. Holm takes a step over to it, holding the circular device over from earlier. The only difference now was that it was glowing a faint blue color. Oh, if it helped, Lady Salma already took record of my height when I went to get some Bah! No thank you, Brian. Salma's measurements are made with the intent that the clothing is made to accentuate and complement your physique. My measurements are more in line with your medical interests. This way, should anything happen to you, I know the correct size of the medicines to use on you and whatnot. And now that you mention it, did she happen to share the recorded measurements with you? She didn't. She just wrote it down on a notepad and promised that she'd take it from there. I just assumed that regardless of the measurements she took, they'd be comparable to my regular ones, you know? Regardless, I'm sure it wouldn't hurt. He instructs me to stand on the stone device that I'd seen before. I was humbled to know that it wasn't anything too fancy, just a regular scale to produce the data. Okay, 73 kilograms. 73? Wait, kilograms? They use those too? Perfect. Now hold still. I'm about to activate the scanner. Scanner? The apparatus's button extends upwards shortly after, turning to aim at the scale with a blue light at my feet. Indeed, Joe's technology is very malleable. Making something with it doesn't mean that it can't be made to do something else. Like so. He presses the button and the light begins to slowly trickle up my body. What the heck? Hey, don't move. I tense back into place, assuming the position until the machine finishes its scan. 187 centimeters. And done. Wait, so does that mean that you guys... The same technology that we use for the screens can also be programmed to record data, measurements, color analysis? Essentially, if you can think it, you can get a screen to do it. That's incredible. You're essentially able to automate tasks, provide rapid delivery, and pinpoint accuracy in their results? That'd be correct. Let me guess. Chaim gave you all the flash, but none of the science on this tour, did he? You could say that. I swear, it's like that wolf thinks for nothing but money and theatrics. Despite the wolf thinking out loud, it wasn't enough to distract me from the sudden realization that I'd physically changed. I mean, I can excuse the weight. I've certainly been eating better than what I'm used to. But my height? How can that even be possible? Holm, your measuring equipment. How accurate is it? Extremely accurate. At this moment in time, I'd honestly argue that it's the most accurate piece of technology going. Is something the matter? I'm trying to get my head around your measurements. Oh, well, you just take the... No. I know how it works. It's just that... I know my measurements. For the longest time, I've always been 6 foot. He shows a brief flash of confusion, which prompts me to work out the mental math quickly. About 182 centimeters? I just can't wrap my head around the fact that according to you guys, I'm suddenly 5 centimeters taller. The wolf places a paw on his chin, nodding his head up and down in rhythm, seemingly going over his thoughts before finally speaking. Well, believe it or not... His head leans over his shoulder, looking over at the previously drawn blood sample. That's actually something that I wanted to test for. Brian, I take it that you've noticed how nearly every individual you've met so far has been bigger than you in stature? It'd be a fair bit concerning if I hadn't realized such a thing, but go on. Come to take a look at this. It should enlighten you. The screen shifts to display a sequence of images. Samples of my blood are displayed in front of both of us, only for there to be quite a concerning amount of odd shapes mixed between the cells. What the hell is that? It's a little startling at first. The wolf grabs me by the shoulder, holding me back so that he could explain. Whoa now, calm down. I assure you that this is quite normal. How is this normal? It's just ear. Are you not? He taps the screen again, loading another diagram of myself, but noticeably devoid of this ear. It's only a draft, but this should be an estimate for what you looked like before coming here. You'll notice that as of now, the concentration of ear in your system is much more intense. You may have a different name for ear from where you're from, though from what I can tell from this scan, it seems that you haven't had much exposure to it. Is it some kind of virus? Nothing bad, I assure you. Listen, Brian, ear is... It's wonderful. It's been theorized by many scholars that it originated eons ago. It's all around us, in the air, the water, truly everywhere. Ear works in tandem with a person's body. It increases their immune system, bolsters their energy. It's powerful enough to even alter the bodily structure and abilities of someone. Its intent is to put someone in a state where they can ascertain their peak performance level. Now, admittedly, you seem like a really rare case. Everything he's saying is a lot to process. A powerful super microbe, or virus, or bacteria that can just fully alter someone's body? It sounds like something plucked straight out of a video game. But does it really, Scholar? Is there really no thought going on in that brain of yours about the possibility of such a creation? My head pangs for a moment, pain racking through it. For a brief second, my mind flashes a picture of a woman leaning over a desk. She's taking notes on several beakers lined up in a long, thin rack. But before I can focus on her face, she's gone. Damn it. I'm already agreeing to do these communications for you. What else do you get from tormenting me? Consider this a favor. Like I'm steering you in the direction of what I might want you to do next. Brian? Huh? Ugh. I try to focus on the dwindling voice once again, but it's already gone, leaving me alone in the room with Holm. Did you understand me? Sorry. Would you mind repeating that? Sure. Your rarity, if you will, stems from the fact that it looks like if your body hasn't had much, if any, experience with ear before. Because of that, it's evident that you'll be experiencing some rapid progression compared to the gradual ones that we wolves endure. Now, as for the extent of your physical changes, I can't say much as to what it will do, as I've never seen anything like it, but I do suspect that it won't be as intense as us for that reason. That and, well, you being a human and all. I see. I take it you won't be going anywhere anytime soon, will you? Well, I don't plan on packing my bags right after this, so no. Hmm. Then if I can, I'd like to leave myself in your capable paws. Checkups, weigh-ins, anything that you can do to monitor me and make sure that I'll be okay. Ah, you beat me to the punchline. Of course I'd love to. Excuse my excitement. But, you know, you'll have the finest care available to you while you're with us. He flashes me a smile before turning away, jotting down some more notes in that well-used journal. I wonder if he doodles in it every now and again. And then again, maybe Holm isn't that irresponsible. We take a moment to appreciate the silence as he decorates the pages with even strokes until he is satisfied with his record. Now then, for the time being, I'm clearing you to work for Heim's evening schedules, as I'm confident that you have the prowess to handle these times given your rising affinity with ear. That being said, I'm stipulating that if you're to do any of these extended shifts, I want you to have ample recovery time, just so that we have complete accuracy in this little experiment. There is quite the dark smirk on his face as he goes over his notes once more. I'll be sure to pass all this on to Caldor, but I want you to start undergoing some sort of training. Not only will we be able to see the extent of what ear can do for your body, we'll be able to ensure that you're up to the task of any physically demanding dilemmas you might find yourself in. His Highness will sort out a regimen for you. He's quite good at planning out his trainings. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that we have a plan in place. Thank God I'm clear for that evening work. Hopefully there will be no further delays now. Holman glances out the window, pondering up at the sky. Now then, Caldor's informed me that you wanted to go to the library after your examination was complete. Is that still the case? Yes, I've been meaning to check out these vast collections in there. Hmm, of course. Say, how's about I escort you there as soon as I get the lab all closed down? After all, I can make sure that you don't get lost. Only if it's not putting you out of your way. Not at all. I had some books already prepared for me. As a matter of fact, I've actually been trying to find the time to get to them. He lets out a chuckle. I agree to his offer and finish the necessary procedures with them. Once he's satisfied with the cleanup, we step out of the room, making our way back to the corridor. Holm hangs back just for a moment, pulling out a loud set of keys from his pocket and sticks one in the door's keyhole. He turns it swiftly until a clicking sound emanates from the lock. He then turns from the door after locking it, a grin on his face. Right, if you want to follow me, we'll be at the library before you know it. Perfect. Despite our efforts to make our way over to the library, the shout of someone behind us is echoed over. Hersher Holm, halt for a moment. We turn around, meeting a guard's gaze as he quickly does a bow of respect to Holm's direction. Apologies for the interruption, sir. I've been sent by Hersher Astrid. At ease, soldier. What does she want? She's asked me to inform you that her meeting with the king today has been concluded, and that she wants to brief you personally on the notes of the meeting. I see. And what of the rest of the council? Is there any indication that the meeting will be wrapping up anytime soon? Not yet, sir. Some of the other Hershers have been wanting to discuss some rising topics with His Majesty, and as such, things have gone a bit awry. Woven passion at its finest. Very well. Please inform my sister that I'll meet her at her chamber shortly. I have some errands to run first, but I won't keep her waiting long. As you command, Hersher. Dismissed. The guard nods his head and turns his back, walking away from the pair of us, returning us to our own company. Gotta be fair. He carries himself. Before I can get the chance to finish my thought, Holm lets out an exaggerated sigh. His brow begins to sweat. Everything all right? It's as if that distraction blinded him to the present company, making him jump at the asking of status. I. Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry. It's all right. What was that about? Sorry. I haven't been a hairseer for as long as my colleagues, and I have a responsibility to keep up the appearances of one too. It's a little overwhelming sometimes, you know. I get that. It's never easy going from the quiet one in the group to the one leading it. Is that some ancient human proverb? No, just something an old associate once told me. But it'll come to you in time. It did for me at my old university. Hmm, thanks, Brian. Don't mention it. You know, speaking of the council, your sister? What about her? I didn't really get the best impression of her at the trial, though I wasn't too impressed with her putting you in a headlock and taking away from the severity of it all. I guess she's been the hardest person that I've tried to get a read on so far. I guess what I'm wondering is, well, what's she like? She. He takes a step forward, his head bowing a slight bit. My sister is a wolf, just like any other. But despite the same complexions, she is an entirely different beast. While I was chosen for my talents to become a part of the council, my sister earned her place at the table through sheer willpower, proving to everyone that she earned her place because she was simply better than the rest. I struggled to find the voice of a commanding official, while my sister took to it faster than the light of the stars. You'd think that she'd been in the council for decades. In reality, she's only been part of it for a single winter. Really? Only a year? Aye, I've only had a third of that time in comparison, but it just feels like I've never been able to catch up to her accomplishments. Hey, don't put yourself down too harshly. I mean, regardless of whether or not you were chosen for the role, surely the decision must have been made because they could see your potential. Yeah, well, Keldor certainly seems to think so, at least. A blush forms faintly on his cheeks, seemingly appreciative of the kind words shared with him. But yeah, that's my sister for you. Alzheimer's biggest big yeah. She's my family, though. Regardless of how many problems she may cause me, I do love her. If nothing else, I can respect the familial bond they share. But I do hope that the respect Holm has for his sister is mutual. I guess I would imply that I actually need to meet Astrid, though, which admittedly I'd like to delay for as long as possible. As we finish discussing the family specifics, a stone arch protrudes from the wall, wide enough to support the two large oaken doors that stood underneath it. Would I be correct to assume that this is the library? Indeed, you would. He steps forward, pressing both paws against the giant doors. With some effort, he is able to push the reinforced doors wide open, displaying the library in its full grandeur. As we step inside, the familial scent of age paper floods my nostrils, pulling me in further and giving me a better lay of the land. While I stand there getting lost in excitement, I briefly spot Holm in the corner of my eye. I watch him move over to the front desk. Is there a particular book that you're after? Books, actually. The wolf jumps onto the counter, bending over in such a way that he is able to reach what he's looking for. Perfectly stored for retrieval. Go ahead, Ryan. What book are you after? Oh, I don't think that it'll be there. Did the library not prepare the books you requested? That was an option? Ugh, that wolf. I see that Caldor didn't tell you that you can request books for easy retrieval. He did not. All Father's knowledge. Help me. The library itself is split into multiple sections, and they're titled appropriately as to what you'll find in them. General rule is that you'll find your more educational sources on the ground floor, and if you're looking for more personal self-published books, they'll be on the first floor. I normally ask the librarian to assist you, but as you can see, he has the day off today. He lets out a sigh, leaning against the desk. And as much as I'd love to stay, my friend, I'm afraid that it wouldn't be in my best interest, not with a roaring storm waiting for me. He smiles, taking a step towards the door before turning back. Thanks again for everything, Holm. Don't worry about me. I wouldn't be as good a student as I am if I wasn't familiar with the inner workings of a library. There is a smile of confidence on my face. After all, how hard could it be? I look forward to seeing you again. Just do your best to ensure that your next visit isn't for some sort of serious injury. Working with Chaim, I can't promise that. He stares away, letting out an ever so infectious laugh, and it doesn't take long for the both of us to sound like kettles, wheezing and gasping before finally calming down. Be seeing ya! The wolf closes the door behind him, and I hear his footsteps going fainter and fainter as he leaves me to my own company. Once I know that I am finally on my own, I take a deep breath, ordering my thoughts together. Okay, time to get to work. There are 2 books that I need to find for certainty. Firstly, a replacement for the one that I destroyed to keep my cover story intact, and secondly, any of Grimm's books about his studies of the world. Anything else is pretty much a bonus. Only choice now is where to start. Sooner I have it, the sooner that I can get it off my mind. Let's take a look. Sticking to the ground floor reveals the more studied topics the wolves have. Geography, botany, maths, science. Come on, surely something like this Come on, something like this surely has to be in... Aha! History. My fingers trace the shelves, lagging behind me ever so slightly as my eyes dance across the rows of spines, taking a moment on each shelf. To my luck, each shelf has been organized carefully into an alphabetical structure. Probably organized into G. Garm, the legendary defender. Gardi, Fatir and Legends. Yes, the art of introduction. A few more books call out to me as I slow down nearing the correct letter. Perfect, The Great Voyage. Great Voyage, to be more specific. Some excitement resounds in my thoughts, double checking the numerals to ensure that it's the correct replacement. Phew. With my cover secured, I tread back to the central area, a central table available for patrons of the library to sit and study. Placing the book down upon the table, I see that in one of the chairs next to me there is an unused tote bag, the creases in the material implying that it's full up with books. I wonder if they use that to carry the returned books around. Regardless, with the task fulfilled, the next objective was waiting for me. With the book now in tow, I rush back down the stairs to grab a spot at the table, opening the book as delicately as possible to ensure that there are no damages done to the old thing. The origins of the world is a discovery that has been undertaken by the people of all walks of life. Do we as individuals look to the religious, claiming the gods are responsible for the wonders that we explore and enjoy? Do we partake in the knowledge that science has brought us, the claims that everything that's happened can be surmised as nothing but a course of natural reactions that have brought us to this moment in time? Or is there something simpler, something more philosophical, something that only a kind, more honest soul could be able to understand about our place in all of this? The rest of the introduction is skimmed through. Grimm's philosophy debates doing little to add to the knowledge that I am searching for. Legends of Caledonia, folklore, religions, histories. Here we go. Chapter 1: The Origin of the World. In my many travels, I have met countless individuals of all species and walks of life who all have different answers to the same question that I propose to you. Liber, 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 liber lesser? The one thing that has remained consistent between all of them is that they all have a belief that a powerful outside source was responsible for the life that we enjoy today. The devout would have you believe. The rest of the page is unfortunately showing signs of wear from the passage of time, making the remainder of it unreadable. That's annoying. Guess that's something that I'll have to ask Grimm more about the next time that I see him. Turning a few more pages in, headline after headline sticks out, subcategories for all the different histories that Grimm had the opportunity of exploring and documenting, but nothing of note so far. Anomalies of history? Something that has confused the minds of many a generation is the one shared aspect between every culture, the universal language. While yes, every region may have its own dialect, accent, and in some cases, new languages based on their surrounding culture, a constant has been that our ancestors have used a shared language to communicate with each other. In my previous excursions, I simply chalked this belief up to the simple fact that the previous lands I visited were in too close of a proximity for the universal language to not be true. However, after I had some serious years of traveling under my belt, I was given an opportunity to visit Itlan Yu Quaim, the home city of the tigers, on behalf of His Majesty. While my mission was to chart a map and assess the likelihood of them becoming an ally, it was here where I had the opportunity to see this worldly constant in full force. Despite practically being on what felt like the other side of the world, there was no hindrance in our communication, save for the words of their culture. As a scholar, there wasn't a conceivable way for me to simply ignore this. While I may have failed in securing an alliance with them, I did make some personal relations that have helped me put together a theory. A game theory! The sound of a chime goes off, distracting me from the book for just a moment. What time is it? Looking out the window, realization sets in as the sun begins to set, indicating just how long I've been cooped up in the library. Seeing that I could be close to a breakthrough, my eyes drifted back to the book. From my research, I have come to believe that this phenomenon is tied to the being or beings that left the foundation for the technology that we use so readily today. Technology that we have deconstructed to make it more plausible for our simpler minds to use. The usage of the language stemming from the ancient text used to describe these machines' purposes. My eyes drift from my seating position towards the slowly opening door. Acting on reaction alone, the book is tossed into the tote bag that was left on the chair, and I open up the copy of The Great Journey, landing on a random page. Aha! Hello, Brian! My eyes give a quick survey of the general direction, testing to see if there was anybody else in his present company. Oh, Caldor, good afternoon. He appeared to be by himself, which in all honesty I appreciated given the circumstances. Did you manage to find anything well? Yeah. It took me a second, but I managed to get the hang of these things here. I found what I was looking for too. Perfect. I knew that there was bound to be a copy in here somewhere for you. Where are you up to now? Shit. A quick cautionary glance reveals to me that I had turned to a page detailing the creation of multiple new woven businesses, particularly the introduction of blacksmiths and metalwork. I've actually gotten to a particular part that I am quite fascinated with. It's currently talking about the addition of blacksmiths to the city, specifically where woven smithery techniques were deployed for the first time in the kingdom and set a new standard for the quality of metal produced. Oh, yes. Believe me, you're more than free to call me biased, but I can tell you with certainty that you can get better woven steel. Is that right? I'll think I'll have to show you some of my personal pieces sometime. Sounds fun, though I do hope it's as impressive as you say. Despite our small session of banter, I can tell that something is a bit off with him. Like, he's trying too hard to pretend something isn't on his mind. So, were you here for anything in particular, or is this just a checkup? Bah, I'm getting sidetracked. Well, dinner's gonna be ready soon. A slight growl emanates from my stomach as he mentions the idea of dinner. I've been so lost in my thoughts trying to complete my research. Oh, thank you for letting me know. Will someone bring it to my room? There is a slight pause from the wolf. Is he nervous? Actually, he lets out a sigh, as if trying to build the courage to ask a daunting task. After the meetings I've had today, I'm just about ready to run a battle axe through my skull. One of our traders came back with a particularly beloved wine of Sayers, so there's no doubt that he and Fisk will probably spend the evenings reminiscing. Njord and Chaim will probably spend the entire evening talking about business, more than likely yabbering and profit can be improved in any way. And Astrid will probably spend the entire dinner bullying Holm for missing the meeting, while also catching him up to speed on what he missed. I don't fancy dealing with any of them, and I would like some fresh company to stimulate my evening. Of course, that's if you want to join me. He tries to play it off with his signature smile, a paw at the back of his head, rubbing it ever so casually, but I can see the blush running through his cheeks. Honestly, after the events that took place last night, I thought that I would be the last person that he would want to see. But I don't want things to get awkward between us, especially considering how helpful he's been to me since my arrival. Well, I would like to freshen up a bit first. Oh, of course! I'll swing by and grab you when it's ready. Perfect. Knowing that I couldn't simply leave the book alone, I grabbed the tote bag and slotting in the empty copy of The Great Journey just in time for Caldor to catch me in his glance. Oh? What you got there? I hope it's alright. I grabbed a few books that caught my eye while I was looking for that copy. Am I alright to take them? I think it's really helping me out with some of the work that I'm contributing to. Of course, I'll have someone inform the library. Just keep a list of what you've taken so that I can be returned properly. Understood. The tote is quickly slung over my shoulder as I step out of the library. I turn my head in the direction of my room, with Caldor doing the same. See you later! Indeed. Now with no eyes on me, and my loot in tow, I double back through the hallways, taking a brisk stride through them, wanting to ensure that there would be no more surprise encounters that could put me at risk. As soon as I enter the room, my body leans over towards the adjacent power switch, hitting the room lights. Bah! In truth, a scream nearly escaped my maw as my eyes met with the fox. He's looking just as surprised by my presence, but keeps his ever so casual appearance, biting into a toasty-looking pastry. What the hell are you doing here? A quick turn puts me in line with the door, and I swiftly ensure that it's locked behind me. What? Friends can't drop in? You know that's not what I meant. We could get in serious trouble if you get caught, no? Oh, relax. My entrance is solid. It ensures that I can slip into here by avoiding all the guards. Then, did you just forget the wolves have, damn super smell? What if someone can pick up that you were here? I said relax. I doused myself in a mix of store-bought floral aromas. If they tried any sniffing, they'd simply find their noses quickly overloaded by a luscious splash of rose oil, sandalwood, and a hint of jasmine. The way that he winks back at me after that probably means that he's done this before. I want to say something else, but this is Frasier. He'll always have a smart answer prepared for anything. How did you even get in here? I climbed. You climbed? You climbed all the way up here from the ground level? I've got good stamina. Okay. But how did you actually get in here? Oh, that was easy. I just picked the locks on your bathroom windows and jumped in. Jesus, Frasier. Jesus? That's not important. Story for another time. If you say so. He takes another bite of his pastry. Where did you even get that? Full disclosure, they were already here, and I needed some energy after the climb. So not only did you break into my room, you stole my food as well? Ain't I a menace? He laughs before taking a final bite of the pastry, heading over to my spare chair. He throws himself over the arm of it so that he could practically fall into it, adjusting his body to get ever so comfy. So, what brings you to my oh-so-humble abode, Frasier? Well, I know we haven't known each other that long, but I can tell a crafty bugger when I see one. As such, I wanted to check in, see if Mr. Resourceful has had any luck with that mission Grimm set you on. I carefully remove the book from its tote bag, dropping it down on the coffee table. The audible thump makes Frasier sit up straight, and he stares at it dauntingly. Wow, I was practically joking. You actually managed to get it? Of all the books that they had left, this was the closest one to what Grimm described. Did you manage to read any of it? I did, though I couldn't quite finish all of it. Caldor came in just before I had to hide it. I didn't want to create any suspicion. Smart. Well, don't just stand there, punk. Whip it out and get to reading. I want to see what it says. All right. But we need to be quick. Caldor will be by soon to escort me to the dining hall, and I still need to freshen up. He simply nods while I turn the book back to its previous page, giving him a chance to catch up to where I had gotten before being interrupted. It doesn't take him long to give me a sign that he finished the prior part, allowing us both to move on to the end, seeing what Grimm had left us. These instructions held information like measurements and metrics, bodily autonomy, machinery, the list goes on. As such, I suspect that there is more to the joyous creation out there in the world, information that I had hoped to find out there in my next investigation. And before long, Frasier gestures to me that he's reached the end. I notice that there is a page after that one we stopped on. Turning it, we discover a note left by Grimm. Dear reader, should you find yourself at the end of this novel still searching for answers, I shall inform you that this is not the final piece in this series of mine. I have continued my research into Volume 2. However, due to my purpose to the king finally being fulfilled, I have left the castle with no intent of returning. As such, you will not find any of my future works in the ground hall that you currently surround yourself in. If you wish to find this book and any of my other works, I have made them as a submission to the Great Library, a true safeguard for all sources of knowledge in the known world. Grimm I can't pronounce that. He never told me that he visited the tigers. Isn't it wild that something as complex as the spire's construction can be explained so damn easily to other people? It is. It's just a tad infuriating that I have no idea where this bloody library is. Not like I had the chance to just leave the city and go. Why not? What do you mean? Well, the council said that they'd offer you help in exchange for your services. I would have thought that once you got that new comms device working for Holm, that'd be your side of the deal completed. How do you know so much about that? I have my sources. Whatever. I can't help but think it over. If what he's saying is true, on the other hand, if I want any chance of getting some answers out of that creepy bastard, I need to stay, see things through, and have him cough up what he knows. Listen, it's not that you're wrong. I just think that it's a lot simpler for me too if I did it your way. But I got a shot at getting some real answers. The condition being that I need to stay and help work on some of the wolves' more detailed projects. He goes to say something, but I cut him off. It's not something that I can explain easily, at least not right now. Maybe one day though. Okay. I'll always appreciate your candor, Fraser. Behind us, the clock chimes, a signal that we need to start moving. That book is going to be in pretty some hot water if it's discovered here. Let me take it. Are you sure? Positive. I have a much sooner chance of seeing Grimm before you. I'll take this his way, and then we can look into planning our next steps. That, and I do think that it'll cheer him up to be reunited with one of his more ancient tomes. I can simply picture the goat's handsome old smile. No wonder so many people like him. Alright, you take it, but send word whenever you have some kind of result. You got it. We slowly start to head upstairs, Fraser securing the book into a sling bag under his cape as we step into the bathroom and I get the window for him. Take care, friend. You as well. The fox leaps out, giving me a space to watch his acrobatics on full display as he almost effortlessly scales down the wall, his claws dragging through the thick infrastructure. Whoa. But I don't have the luxury of wasting time, nor the ability to launch myself down the fucking castle walls. Still can't believe he did that. I need to get ready. With the window now shut, a quick shower was all I needed. Stripping down and turning the water on led me to carefully douse myself with the finer smelling soaps the wolves had to offer. It was a royal dinner after all, an occasion where I'd like to put my best foot forward. Can be smelling horrid. Satisfied with my scent, I step out, dry off and open my wardrobe, digging out my best looking attire and slipping into it. With it secured to my frame, I can't help but roll my shoulders and stretch out my upper body. There's an occasional crack and popping sound being made from the joint movements. Ah, that's better. Coming! Gott väl. Well, Gott väl to you too. Are you ready to head over? Hell yes I am. I'm starved. Well, be sure to keep that appetite up. We've got quite the feast laid out for us. I was meaning to ask about that actually. This feast. Is it to mark anything important? Oh no, not really. We do hold feasts for certain occasions and various festivals throughout the year, but it's become a bit of a tradition for us to have a group meal ever so often. It serves as a chance for everyone to relax, have company, and the tower staff seems to enjoy it too. Oh, will they be joining us? They will, though we do tend to give the staff their own section. I know it can be a bit annoying when you want to cut loose, but you might be a bit intimidated too when the present company is the one you're working for. And that's rather reasonable. Check you out for being a good boss. Technically a good king, and yeah, ideally I want to be remembered as one. But tonight isn't about the tributes after passing. Let's eat. It doesn't take him long to outstretch both of his arms, pressing into the big wooden doors to the grand hall, effortlessly shoving it open with a boisterous creak. Your Highness. Please, everyone, don't worry about introductions. Just enjoy your night. He turns back to me and nods his head over to me to follow him, as we take our seats at the end of the table, closest to the throne. Good evening, everyone. We were wondering where you were gonna... What is he doing here? Astrid's gaze meets mine for a split second, not nearly enough time for me to learn where the hell her attitude has come from. I invited him. Their problem? No problem. Just a bit odd considering... Before Caldor or Astrid get an opportunity to say another word to one another, Sayor steps up, greeting us in turn. Caldor, Brynn, Gottfeld, how goes? He takes a moment to shoot a glare as sharp as daggers at Astrid at the end of the table before speaking. I'm well, Sayor. A tad bit hungry, but I'm sure that it'll be remedied shortly. With that pot belly, I would have thought otherwise. A chuckle shortly follows from her while my eyes shoot wide open. Holm proceeds to choke on his bite of food, punching his chest to keep it down, and even Chaim bats a stern yet surprised eye. Judging by the 3 empty soaked steins in front of her, she's running on a lot of liquid courage. Her breath is probably enough to knock a lightweight out cold right about now. Sayor goes to open his mouth, but Caldor simply raises his paw to stop him. The king then grabs a platter from the table, tearing off what looks to be some kind of chicken leg, one for me and one for himself. And yet, I remain as one of the most sought-after bachelors in the land. What's your excuse, Lady Astrid? Ooh. Laughter erupts from the table, some of the humor, some of nervousness, as eyes turn to Astrid in an attempt to gauge a reaction. In truth, I'd be happy to see her brought down a few more pegs, anything to sober her up. To some luck, the rosy hue on her cheeks wasn't one of anger, but rather a sign to reflect her drunkenness. Her laugh now acts as an invitation for genuine ones to be shared around the table, a hope forming that there will be no more issues caused by her bluntness for the evening. I take a bite of the meat Caldor plucked for me. It's cooked perfectly with a crisp skin, cover coated with a perfect blend of spices and seasonings. The marinade penetrates the skin, only adding further depth to the chicken underneath, leaving it practically bursting with juice. Despite the enjoyment from the meal so far, the piercing feeling of eyes on me was striking once again, prompting me to turn my head to the table to the left, meeting Chaim's gaze. However, before I have a chance to say anything, Fisk steps in. All right over there, Chaim. Staring off into space, are we? He bears a judgmental stare, presumably not impressed with the wolf's rude gesture, but being suddenly called upon does make him break his glance and return to the place at hand. It's nothing. I have a lot of work on my mind. Well, it's not going anywhere, is it? This is your evening off. Try to enjoy it. And where are our manners? Brynn, good evening, lad. How are you? The sudden mention of me draws the attention of the wolves that have been passively contributing to their own conversations. I'm doing well, thank you. I hope the evening is going well for you all too. It's been grand, Pipsqueak. After the business that we've had today, it's well needed. Not that this slippery fellow would know anything about it. As my eyes look over to their portion of the table, I can see Njord daintily sipping on his drink. Whatever he's drinking, it's something different from the standard beverage in here. Next to him is Astrid, one paw slamming another stein back, while the other moved up towards her brother, ruffling his hair fiercely before putting the attention back solely to the drink. Even at a party, she's not gonna stop bullying him, huh? Old habits die hard, I suppose. Speaking of that, how well did the young scholar actually do today, Lord Holm? I've written a full report on today's tests. I've had one of the staff deliver it to your room. You'll find them in a folder there. But the long and short of it is that Brynn is in good shape and can return to work whenever you're ready to have him back. It's interesting, though. It seems as if his body is acclimatizing to the environment better as well. So, with some luck, he might be able to take more of the active roles on any of the physical tasks that you have in store for him. Interesting. Seems like the world is on your side if it's making you strong, Brynn. I'm certain that I am in someone's good books. I hope. I'll say, it'll be good to have you back with us, Runt. So far, I'm damn confident in the testing my crew has been conducting. I'm sure that it will be rewarding. Oh, Caldor, before I forget, I did make an amendment to my report. I'd like for you to have Brynn come along for some of your training sessions with you. Caldor's joy turns to shock and awe, but even I can tell a part of him is curious. Really? You're confident that he can handle that? Maybe not to the full extent of it, but his body is completely unique in its acclimation. It's as if he's never had interaction with air before, and as such, I want to see if the stimulus of your workouts would react with it. I suppose I can handle that, though I think Hyam is a bit eager to have you back first. Damn right. But no worry, we'll look into putting some meat on those bones, Brian. I mean, if it's combat training you're after? She stands up rather loudly, giving a resounding shout as she readies a fighting stance. No! Gods, Astrid. We don't even know if the lad can throw a punch, much less if he would survive a fight with you. Okay, I think you've had enough, sister. Come on. What? No, Ugh. The wolf does her best to sit back down, but she puts a bit too much force into her lean, resulting in her knocking the chair over with her in it. Ugh, if she is refusing to retire, might I suggest that we be cut off from the draft? Agreed. Absolutely. Hyam proceeds to pour the remaining liquid into various glasses amongst the 5 of them, ensuring Astrid wouldn't be getting her hands on any more. Not fair. Bastard. Yeah. Come on, meat breath. The smaller wolf yanks Astrid up, setting her in place once again as she progresses to go back to her roast. Brian, would you like to try some of the vegetables? They're all locally sourced from the farmlands. Oh, I'd love to. What would you recommend? The platter is passed over, containing various servings of roast potatoes, carrots, broccoli, swede. It looked as if there was a little bit of everything, making up a very lovely little medley. Honestly, everything on here would do you good. I'm especially proud of the crop yields this year. A respectable sized portion is taken from each side, piling my plate high and inviting me in to take a bite. Oh, this is delicious. I cannot but dish out a compliment to the old man's work, his smile being duly noticed by myself in response. Kaldor's arms grab my attention, being in a cutting motion before sliding me a plate. Well, they are delicious. Gonna need to make sure that you're getting your protein in too. Course. A moment of silence washes over the table as everyone takes their time to truly enjoy their meals. However, voices fade ever so slowly, prompting my head to briefly turn down the table. By focusing on the individual conversations, I can hear who's discussing with whom. Njord is discussing with Hyam, asking details about the work that's been conducted so far in my absence. He wonders because he wants to see if it's plausible to get a market valuation for the item, should they reach a position in which it can be mass-produced and sold off to all the neighboring lands. Next to them, Astrid and Holm are discussing the day's events, well, as best as they can considering her highly inebriated state. And finally, the older gentleman at the table. The 2 of them recall tales of their youth, the time of their introduction to the council, even an ever so casual mention of Thimble, the prior king, to Kaldor. The 2 are sharing a particular cask of liqueur between them, and from the bottle's adornments, I can tell that it's a rather rare bottle. It's exactly as he predicted. I gotta give you props, Kaldor. You called your council's actions almost exactly. Bah, what can I say? I just know them well. While he responds, he just feels a little distant. Not that it's hard to imagine why. Hey, Kaldor? Yes? We're okay, right? How do you mean? Well, after what happened yesterday, I've been racking my brain with worry that there's, I don't know, a feeling of resentment, shock, just a negative connotation to it at all. I really appreciate the hospitality that you've given me. I wouldn't want to have that be ruined. Oh, no. I mean, his cheeks are flushed. It was just an accident, right? Nothing we can't simply put behind us, right? After all, it's not like it couldn't have happened to anyone else. Yeah. Total accident. No intention of it happening again. Right. Of course. So, how was your dinner? Thank God he changed the subject. It's perfect. How was yours? Terrific. I might even ask the chefs if they can incorporate that new sauce that they use into a more permanent stay in the day to day meal rotation. Oh, I second that. It was sweet, but not overpowering. A wave of relief comes over me, as I am glad to know that there isn't going to be a lasting feeling of resentment between us for what happened. Though I'd be lying if I was to say that I didn't like it. His warmth is really comforting. My eyes wander, looking down the table to see the state of everyone else's plates, being empty or left with scraps. Over my shoulder, I hear the sound of wood being dragged, noting that the staff have been called to clear the table, readying it to get everything cleaned up. At this point, it seems like things were beginning to settle down for the night. Sayor and Fisk discuss turning in for the night, with Astrid beating them both to it by falling asleep at the table. I turn to Caldor to see his state, and he looks just about ready for bed too. So, the night's over. You got any plans for tomorrow? You know, I think I'm gonna sleep in tomorrow. It'll be the first day in a long time where I haven't had to be up at the crack of dawn to deal with. Your Highness! The loud shout immediately draws the eyes of everyone in the room to him, even the eyes of the previously drunken Astrid. The merriment and the evening drains from everyone else as they anticipate what the wolf has to say. At ease, speak. The wolf quickly raises himself upright from his previous bowing position. I apologize for the interruption of your evening, sir, but I stand before you with concerning news. Out with it, boy. The the bears have sent a messenger. The new chief has been elected, and is seeking a parley with the king. Did he say what he wanted? How soon are they requesting this parley? Ugh, my head. Did they fucking say who they elected? I don't know the individual, but I believe his name is Vaughn. Here's your Astrid. Fuck. She slams her head on the table once again. They've yet to state the exact demands, but their general request is that they wish to discuss the initial treaty signed by their predecessor. As for the requested time, they like it as soon as possible, possibly tomorrow, should the dates align. Oh my, I wonder what they could want. And on such short notice, this can't be good. I'm drawn to Caldor, seeing him deep in thought as he takes a moment to ponder on the appropriate choice of action. I'd like one of you to join me, if we are to go through with this. Your various dispositions could prove more valuable in diffusing the situation that we found ourselves in. Astrid, you're our expert here. What do we know about this fawn? Bear with me. Bear. It's clear to see that the alcohol hasn't completely drained from her, but at the very least, we were able to keep her attention for a tad bit longer. Okay, he. He was my second in command. We had a falling out after a particular discrepancy. He stepped down shortly after, saying that he wanted to refocus his efforts on the security of the bear's territory. But he's cunning, has a real affinity for leadership, so I'm not too surprised that it's him of all people. Then, how would you go about dealing with this? Psst, it's cute that you think that I know, Jaime. I'm no help here. Sober Astrid will tell you to turn up with a show of force. Drunk Astrid would admit that she's not sober enough for this, but considering who he is, he knows the exact way that I think. Maybe check in with the other wolves in charge of social relations, though, Hyam. He'd be the expert here after all. She stands up from the table rather groggily, tripping over her paws a slight bit as she walks away, over to the exit. Whatever you decide to do, my vote goes with the majority. Good night. Every day, I question why she was chosen of all people. In her defense, she couldn't have expected such an event to occur in such short notice. While I'll concede the suddenness of this event to you, it doesn't explain the foul attitude that she carries to most of our predicaments, boy. D- Enough, the both of you. We could be facing something serious here. I am not preparing for my council to tear each other apart when we have work to conduct. Of course, sir. Njord, prepare a gift from the treasury. Something strong. I'll have something prepared especially for the event, Your Highness. Allow me to state that my vote will also lie with the majority. The two wolves exchange a nod as the slender one too joins his colleague in leaving the room. I'd like to apologize, King Caldor. I think that we both know that relationships with this kingdom are out of my depth. I would like to abstain from the present moment and allow a chance for me to vote for a fellow candidate. With that said, it's left Hyam, Seor, and Holm as the only options available. Hersa Holm, you look as if you have something to say. I, I too would like to abstain from my vote temporarily. I'd like to hear from all remaining candidates to see what the most probable course of action should be. Then bring me, Your Highness. For all intents and purposes, this is essentially a business transaction. It only makes sense to bring an esteemed businessman to discuss the terms and argue for our benefit. Please, you really think that the best action we have is to send you in? You of all people? Got a problem with that? As a matter of fact, I do. I'm not interested in watching the bears play the patience game with you after you attempt to either bribe them or try to swindle them into a lesser deal. Keldor, please allow me to attend with you. I know the customs that the bears keep, and you're seriously trying to vote for yourself after the absolute fiasco that was last time? Seor, you and I both know that if it wasn't for King Fimble acting as quickly as he did, you'd have never secured the broker peace that we have with them. You speak of a time where it was my first attempt at brokering such a monumental relation, yet you wish to simply ignore my decades of dedication to this craft? Do you think the bears would simply ignore your last visit? Sending you back to them would be the equivalent of scaling a mountain with an open wound to the leg. How dare! Quiet! His voice boomed over all of them, silencing the entire room. You behave like children. I honestly shouldn't even entertain the idea of bringing any of you along. His digits began to tap the table in a rhythmic pattern, him being deep in thought. Despite my lack of understanding in relation to the situation, there was one thing that was apparent. Should things go south, a lot of people and their ideals will be put at risk, not to mention my own. Think, Brian. You gotta be able to do something. May I speak? Instantaneously, the looks of the five wolves are already locked onto me, some intrigued, some annoyed. If you'd be willing to entertain the idea, would you consider sending me on this mission? Do you really think it's you? Keldor flashes daggers at him, silencing him before he has a chance to completely shut me down. Brian, please elaborate, if you'd be so kind. Well, it's clear to me that you can both see a negative on the potential two candidates in front of us. These negatives being based on past experiences. In comparison, I am a blank slate. The bears would have no context on me or my motivations, so my presence could be seen as a sincere one. Not only that, but I would provide a fresh perspective on the matters discussed, and I'd like to think that I have had an opportunity to display my intellect to all of you. And if the goal is to ensure the alliance you share is secure, does it not seem plausible that bringing the newest ally would set a good foot forward for your reputations? The silence was deafening, everyone taking a moment to ponder on my words as I too began to deal with the thought of what my words may have brought in store for me. However, Hyam is the first to break the silence, letting out an awkward cough and preparing to speak. I still think that it should be me, and as such, it should be obvious who my vote is for. I I'm never one to question your choices, Caldor, but I truly think that this is an instance where you would be making a grave mistake by not choosing me, and as such, I cast a vote for myself. Caldor simply nods, looking over to the only two remaining in the room. I, um, I'd like to cast my vote for Brynn, Your Highness. A stunned expression from Hyam and Sayor is displayed in full effect as the younger wolf continues to speak his piece. I find his words convincing. His presence would be one of the first displays in quite a while of a new ally joining our fold. The bears might appreciate that, and I'm confident that you would be able to cover any of the other's shortcomings with ease. We share an appreciative glance to each other, his support helping my confidence in this decision. All that's left now is to hear from Fisk. With the results at a draw, the future could vary on this one decision alone. I must say, I simply adore the resilience of the youth. It's honestly grand to see that it hasn't truly left any of you, despite your ages or your positions. But I am going to agree with the young Hairseer and stake my confidence in the human. Brynn, don't let us down now. Yeah? Of course. Are you Sir? Hairseer Sayer? You are always the first to question anyone that would go against the decisions of the council. Are you really about to go back on that matter, simply because you didn't get your way this time? I. No. My apologies, Your Highness. I'll be making preparations in case the operation here goes south. Don't come crawling to me if it does. The last part is aimed directly at Caldor as he storms out of the dining room. Bjorn, inform the messenger that their message has been recognized and that I'll meet with the new leader tomorrow afternoon. Right away, sir. The servant gives one final bow before running out of the room. This meeting is adjourned. Brynn, please return to your room and get some rest. You'll need it for tomorrow. Of course. Do I need to know anything to be ready for it? Not for now. I'll brief you on the way there. There is a defeated look on his face. I can only imagine that it is simply to do with a massive wrench that has been thrown into the works. As everyone else takes the leave, I hang back just for a second longer, wanting to make sure that the wolf is okay. Me and my big fucking mouth, huh? Your timing is nothing but comical, big guy. Why did you step up like that? I mean, really? I know you're a good person. I've seen it several times while you've been here that you're willing to go that extra mile for people that you meet. But surely there must be something else here. Well, you're right in that I do seem to enjoy helping people. We technically have a deal to uphold. I can't help but come to the conclusion that if things don't go smoothly tomorrow, there's gonna be multiple hindrances that'll not only affect your life, but my life as an extension. I see. Well, nevertheless, I appreciate having you by my side for this one. Sayer will probably be in a huge pissy after this. Is he gonna be okay? Eventually, he bears a wound from long ago, one where he and my father took on responsibilities of the royal type, and the experience came back to bite him. Old wounds heal, but not always the mental complications they leave behind. I see. But we have a job to do, and something this important takes priority. Go get some shut-eye, Brynn. I'll be by in the morning. Good night, Caldor. Good night. Finally getting back to my room, I head straight for the bed, stripping down out of my attire and folding it to be ready for tomorrow's journey. However, as I lay back in my bed, an audible crinkling sound can be heard. What the? It was a letter. Hey, I'll be out of the city for a few days on account of a job. Try not to get yourself killed while I'm gone. Your favorite outlaw. Tsk, what a guy. I crumble the paper up into a ball. I'll destroy it in the morning. Surrounding us are the sounds of the birds chirping. A combination of the morning sun rising and an outer wall gate opening created quite the disturbance to the morning dwellers. But there we stood, ready to embark. To be continued. Oh, my back hurts. Ugh. So, that was the update for Cleaved. Um, let's get the most obvious thing out of the way, which is Caldor and Brian. Their relationship. Well, it's not a relationship, it's their what's going on between them. My guess is that Caldor only saw Brian as a sort of a new friend, a new distraction, somebody just basically new that just showed up. Um somebody to maybe take his mind off of uh what's happening, you know? Mm, and maybe break the mundanity of becoming a king, a leader. He seems to value Brian's presence. Even though Brian is not part of the council, he seems to really value what Brian has to say. It is good that Holm kind of also seems to value Brian as a person, as somebody um with some how to put it, with something to offer, I guess. Uh so yeah, it's good. Obviously this is going to be two parts or two long parts or two or three very short parts. So I'm just going to stick to the ending part after what's his face? After Fraser shows up. So yeah, Fraser showed up, took the book. Um my guess is that that room used to be Fraser's because everyone in the castle has he they know who Fraser is, and they also have this sort of not disdain, but like sort of person. It feels very personal when Fraser is brought up. So my guess is that when they were younger, meaning Caldor and Fraser, that perhaps they were friends because it looks like they're from the same place. So it would make sense that Caldor, being the spirited youth, the adventurous youth, would probably have met Fraser when he was younger, also when he was in his little thieving days. But yeah, anyways, so I have a feeling that that room used to belong to Fraser, and I recall in the previous update when it's mentioned where he is staying that Fraser's like, "Oh, they stuck you in that room?" Like he had some familiarity with that room. I don't know if it was because it's like, "Oh, they stuck you in that room, the one that's on the highest tower," or they stuck you in that room, the room that I used to stay in. Anyways, but yeah. What else? What else? Um, Sticking to that last portion, I kind of get the sense that Hersier Sayor and Hyam both kind of want to have some influence over Caldor. And it would make sense because Sayor used to be, I guess, the like probably it's giving that he used to be like the main advisor for Caldor's father, the previous king. If I'm recalling that correctly, I hopefully. Um, so it would be natural for him to want to stay as the advisor because it's like, well, I've been here before, I've done this job before, might as well, be here and offer what I know to you. And Hyam, being kind of profit driven, would make sense that he would want to have his not his ear, that he would want to have Caldor's ear, so that like Caldor does things that are in the best interest of the kingdom economically, which would then be in the best interest of Chaim himself. So I can get why they want to be the one that wants to go and re-secure this peace between the wolves and the bears. Um, I am interested. Well, no. Well, yeah, that's why they reacted this way. That's why they wanted to go. But it wouldn't. This reminds me of another story, the forbidden story that we don't talk about anymore, but that you guys sometimes bring up. Um, where there was one individual who was sent by the leader of a tribe of canines to sort of establish relationships with their neighbors who were of the striped variety. And unfortunately, that individual who they sent was very bad at their job, like super, super bad, almost to the point where it looks like it was almost done on purpose to have sent him. And I kind of get the sense that that's sort of what happened with Sayor and Chaim, where they left such bad impressions that it probably would be a very bad idea to have them interact with the wolves again, because it's to be like, oh, it's you again. Like, ugh, like we really have to deal with you. I thought we got rid of you. So having a new fresh face, helps. I am happy that this story, this isekai story, isn't doing the um that it's so far okay with certain tropes that fall with certain isekais, where the human comes in and then they fix everything. Well, he is basically stepping up to try to fix the issue with the bears, or whatever issue that might arise with the bears, but it's not like he is the deus ex machina of the story. That he is just a part of the story. He is um he is where how we see the story, but he is also helping the story progress along as the other characters themselves progress the story. Um but yeah. That was one of my worries with stories like this, where we have a human and he shows up and he you know what I mean, right? So hopefully it continues down this path that it's currently going, because the story so far is enjoyable. So yeah. Um, it is interesting to see how they were progressing technologically, how they are a mix of medieval, as you can see from right here, but there's also technology. There is there's TVs, there's communications over limited communication over long distances. Um, and now they have a hovercraft, which they're planning to sort of, you know, as soon as they perfect the technology, they're gonna, put it to the other boats. So the way that they're progressing is not very like, oh, we're developing these things, but they're only for the rich people. They're only for this certain type of people. They're only for us. They're not for you. It's nice to see that they're developing it for the betterment of their kingdom. And that was one of the weird things that I kind of got at the beginning, where it's like, oh, the wolves are the only ones who um who benefit from these things. But like, no, apparently it just takes time, but eventually it will be rolled out to the wider kingdom. Which I think that my initial thought was from Fraser, who was saying that technically speaking, the wolves, they're not from here. They're from a more colder region, which would explain why they have Norwegian names and words. Um so like, okay, from the wolves' perspective, eventually they're trying to help people. They're trying to bring their technology. They're trying to eventually make life better for the people who they're ruling over. But from Fraser's perspective, they're invaders. They're an invasive species who claim their land, and who are lording over their rule over them. And you can see both perspectives, even if you don't really believe Fraser right now. Because Fraser is from this place. The wolves are not. Not only that, but Fraser is street level. He can see how the people, the actual people, the people in the lower areas right there, how they're doing, how they benefit or how they do not benefit from what's going on in the upper areas or with the wolves specifically, because like the table is full of wolves. There is no other species there except for Brian, who is a human, who just happens to be there because he showed up there, and they want to keep a close eye on him. So you could understand Fraser's perspective, but also you can understand the wolves, or more, I guess, Holmes, Hyams, and Caldor's perspective. I'm pretty sure there's some of them that have like ulterior motives or that are gonna cause troubles later on. I'm afraid to say it, but I think that Sayer falls into that category of you're gonna be trouble, aren't you? You're gonna do something. You're gonna backstab something. He just has that look about him. But we'll see. We'll have to see. Who knows? It might be Holm. Maybe all the evil is stored in that tiny little wolf. Anyways, but yeah. So, what are your thoughts? Write it down in the write it down in the comments, and thank you all for watching/listening. If you would like to play Cleaved yourself, you can do so by going down into the link in the description, where you can find a direct link to the itch.io page where you can download it there and play it, or you can just go to itch.io and search up Cleaved and it'll be there. I will also be posting down a link for their Patreon in case you want to get early access to builds of Cleaved. It does take a while for this visual novel to update, unfortunately, just so you know. But I think they make up for it for putting works in progress and stuff like that. So you'll know more about the story before it's released, before me. So yeah, if you want that perk, subscribe to their Patreon, which should be linked down in the description, along with any other pertinent links such as my throne, my coffee, etc., 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 etc. It'll all be down in the description. Anyways, but yeah, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.